Hi viewers, today I'm going to feature quite a unique watch. This is a watch that is categorised as the NOS, which is new old stock. So for those of you that don't know, this means it's a watch that's come from quite old stock. Usually they relate to watches from the 70s and 80s. These are items that were never sold at the time. So they are brand new, but they're old, hence new old stock. And the one I'm going to feature today is a really classy looking watch from the 70s, and this is by a company called Tressa. As you can see, it has a very unique 70s vibe to it, and really is quite a special watch actually. So before I go any further, I'll just run through the specs on this one. Now this has a cushion case shape, and the size, the width of it is actually 37mm. The lug to lug is 40mm, and the thickness is just 12mm. So like most watches from that period, it's quite compact, fairly small, but does pack a punch. This is powered by, it's not an ETA, it's an earlier Swiss movement called Anton Schild, which was very similar to the ETA of its time, just as accurate. And this is the caliber AS52061 with 21 joules. And it seems to be running very well. It's accurate and seems to be keeping good time. Now, a lot of watches from this period could not be accused of being boring. That's the one thing that they all seem to have in common. They all have very intricate, interesting, sometimes a bit over elaborate dials. And this one, I think, it is unique, it is elaborate, but it's not over the top. It's very well thought out, with that very luscious, iridescent green gradient dial. Does have a sort of metallic sunburst finish to it, and it starts off dark green at the top and then goes into this lovely lime green colour at the bottom of the dial. And you can see all these wonderful gold markers are applied onto the dial, and even the logo there, very three-dimensional. And then you've got that 25 symbol, reminds me of the Seiko 5 on the dial there. And then the outer part of the dial, you've got the printing in silver with all the minute and second markers, 21 joules. And of course you've got the day-date window as well, framed with gold. And the handset filled with Lume. It's a really well thought out dial, and as I said, really very unique. Just plays with the light beautifully. Look at that. Now it's interesting that a lot of watch manufacturers are kind of going back to this period and bringing out reissues of designs from the 70s and 80s. You are seeing a resurgence of this type of retro look, as it were, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Now this brand Tressa, they were best known for this Lux watch and a Spaceman watch as well, and they all seem to use this movement, Anton Schild. Very decent specs. The build quality is not comparable to today's watches, but for its time it was very good, and certainly the details and the thought that's gone into the dial and the case is very good, and high quality, decent fit and finish. It's just other areas where it lacks, like it's a mineral glass, it's not sapphire. The bracelet, as you'll see later, is very poor, but that's like with all watches in those days. Even the higher end watches didn't have great bracelets. So when this was launched, it was a pretty decent high-end watch. So Tressa, it's a proper Swiss brand. These are Swiss-made watches. Swiss automatic movement, and they were a pretty well respected brand at the time, but sadly they went bust many years ago, and I think the likes of Rado and some others picked up the pieces. So it's a shame really, but the good thing is you can get hold of these new old stock watches. This one was bought off eBay for just £129, around about $150, which is such a bargain for this. It's a Swiss made automatic watch, and a lovely, interesting, unique design that you won't see in any other watches. So for very little money you can get something quite special. And if you look on eBay, you type in NOS or new old stock, and you'll find a lot of watches like this. Tressa seems to be one of the bigger brands out there. There are loads of Tressa watches. They do this with a blue dial as well, which looks lovely, and lots of different variations on this style. But then there's many other brands as well. So yeah, if you haven't thought of new old stock watches before, and you're into that vintage retro look, then I recommend you have a look on eBay and see what you can find. Certainly makes a change from today's watches, and they're brand new. They've never been worn. This is a totally unused watch, and as you can see, it's in perfect condition. Side crown. It's just the bracelets. These bracelets were rubbish. Looks nice from the top, but you can see from the back it's pretty shabby. You have hollow links, very nasty clasp, all very thin metal. Feels very cheap, but that was, as I said, that was the norm in those days. Anyway, can easily swap this for a different bracelet or a leather strap. It looked great on maybe a dark brown leather strap. The case back is okay. It's got a nice embossing on there, screw down. It's still got the sticker on there, but after all these years I think that's welded on. Got no chance of getting that off really. It does say it's waterproof, but there's no indication of how waterproof that is, so I wouldn't bother testing that. The crown is just a push-pull, it's not a screw-in. There's no hacking either, but it's nice slick movement. And you can wind it as well. The case is all very highly polished. Just the flat part around the bezel is brushed. I do like the shape of the case, and it's really compact, lovely dome to the mineral crystal. Yeah, I do think that's a great looking watch, I really do. So I'll just put that on the wrist and show you how that looks. Lovely, really unique. And that bracelet looks a lot better on the wrist than off the wrist. It does have a nice shimmer to it, and it is a very comfortable watch. Sits nicely with that compact case, and just love that dial. Okay, let's have a quick look at the Lume. Not bad at all. You've got that on the hands there, and considering the age, that's quite bright. It's not bad at all really. Okay, before we finish, let's just have a quick close-up of that dial. Let's see that gorgeous looking dial in more detail. Awesome. Really do like that dial. It's got so many things going on, but it all ties together very well. I do love the combination of green and gold. I think that works exceptionally well on this dial. And the printing really is actually very sharp. All the printing on the dial, the markers and the wording is not white, it's actually silver. I think the date display is done really well. It's very clear and finished off really nicely. There's no nasty edges to that frame at all. The printing super crisp and clear. And the same with the markers, they're all really cleanly applied and no nasty edges that I can see. I do like that blocky handset, again very typical of the era and very retro looking. The second hand is quite short and stubby, but I do like that little bit of red on the end there. But I think the best thing about this dial is the colour. Just love that gradient of the dark green to the lime green. Just looks marvellous, really beautiful. And you can see the crown is signed there. And that button there is actually for changing the actual date, so you just press that to cycle through the different dates. And the date is just changed with the crown. So all in all, a very interesting watch. Right, well that is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed looking at this very special and unique watch. Certainly a bit different to all the others I've featured on this channel. But yeah, if you like the look of these new old stock models, just jump on eBay or have a quick search on Google and see what you find. They usually can be had for very low prices and certainly a lot of fun. And if you're into watches, it's well worth taking a look and adding one of these to your collection. So I really do hope you enjoyed taking a look at this, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.